know of at least 400 people that are on a list that basically were in Syria or were in areas where people were radicalized and then were allowed back in to England. And yet nobody's watching them, nobody's tailing them, nobody's tracking them. Why is that? And the mayor of London gave this stupid explanation about funding and all this other stuff. The Liberals, this is where they go to. We need more money, we need more this, we need more resources. When we really should be just focusing on the allocation of the resources. You're the mayor of London. Allocate appropriately. Yes, you may only control a certain amount of the budget, but allocate appropriately. If you missed it, folks, the outrage is growing. Our good friend Andre Walker, who you've heard on the show, he's had his, his monologue weekly last year with us, and he did a great job with that. He's moved on to bigger and better things, working for the Observer, still working as a lobby correspondent for Parliament. He actually wrote a story saying, "I'll put up 50,000 pounds right now. I got a sword. Come fight me, ISIS." Now, Andre is a slightly overweight middle-aged male who, yes, he has a sword. But I think the article accurately reflected the frustration and anger that most people are feeling around the world right now. Look, Europe is reaping what it sowed for years and decades of unfettered, unchecked, unvetted immigration from the Middle East. This is what's happened. This is the world that they are living in now, which makes the whole discussion of the quote-unquote travel ban, because that's what President Trump is calling it now, that much more relevant for us here. If you want to say that banning travel from persons who are emanating from different countries that are known for either state-sponsored terrorism or for having poor vetting abilities to vet out refugee from terrorists. If you're saying that's a bad thing and that's racist or that's anti-Muslim, whatever the case may be, I'm trying to understand your point, because these 7 countries are nowhere near representative of the entire Muslim world. The largest countries by population for the religion, Indonesia, for the culture, for the ethnicity of Arab, Egypt, not included. The travel ban, whatever you want to call it, needs to be addressed now. Hopefully the Supreme Court will take it up and will recognize the power that the president has had for a very long time. It's been invested in many presidents. And that's codified in law for him to deal with entry into this country as he sees fit. We discussed it on other shows, of course. It's time for us to get serious about this. Otherwise, what's happening in London, what's happening in Manchester, what's happening in Europe comes to our shores. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Scottie Hughes on the show and maybe have a little bit of fun. Gene Baradelli, Behind Enemy Lines, will be back right after these brief words. If you're a long-time listener of the show, or maybe this is your first time listening, you can probably tell that me and the gang here, we like to have our share of fun, whether it's on or off the air. We talk about 2-drink minimum radio and no medication Wednesdays or whatever day it may be. That's why when we found the people at Less Government, More Fun, we knew it was a match made in heaven with this show. Folks, we live in a time where government is out of hand. Our founding fathers did not intend government to be all-consuming in all parts of our lives. That's why we are telling you to go to lessgovmorefun.com, check out the website, check out the swag. What the people want is less government, more fun. Pass it on, make it happen.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines Radio is all about being right. No, seriously, it is. If you ever listen to Russ Gallo or me go back and forth on some issue, we always want to make sure that we remember who said what and when we said it. That's why we go to goonrecord.com. It's a brand new social media website. Challenge people on what they believe, whether it's in politics, sports, entertainment, finance, whatever. There's a category for you at goonrecord.com. Check it out right now. Tell us, what do you stand for? It's time for you to go on record. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli, back behind Enemy Lines. Joining me on the line right now. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the show a very good friend of mine. Journalist, author, blogger, Trump advocate, former CNN contributor, lover of fine Italian pastries, Scottie Hughes. Scottie, how you doing, sweetie?
I am doing fantastic. I love how you said lover of Italian pastries. I'm sorry. There's nothing more American than a cannoli. I just want to point that out.
Interesting way of putting that, but I totally agree. I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while. How are things?
Well, I'm doing good. You know, it's a lot of work actually making America great again. I mean, we thought in the campaign season it was all about make America great again. Well, now that he got elected, the fight really has just escalated. It's a lot more intense, a lot more people involved, and now we're actually having to work a little bit harder to make sure that we fulfill some of those campaign promises that he made on the campaign trail.
Absolutely, but just take a step back for a second. Has it sunk in yet with you how monumental of an accomplishment it was winning back in November?
Yes or no. I have moments that, I sit there and I watch and I'm just absolutely shocked that, I'm like, can you imagine? Great case in point. Let's look at what happened the other day with when we were doing the wreath laying ceremony at the Memorial Day at Arlington for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Could you imagine if that would have been Hillary Clinton, what that would have been like?
Yeah, no, and I don't want to. Thanks for putting that in my head. Appreciate it.
Well, I could give you a lot more bad images. But, in it's moments like that you sit there and go, thank goodness we have President Trump in office. For moments just like that. And just, you see, if you listen to our snowflake friends in the media, they make it like it's the end of the world. Look at, what happened with the Paris Accord. Like, we're all going to be frying today. I mean, I hope you bulked up on sunscreen so I guess the sun was going to fry our skin today. Or that we were all going to be sneezing from asthma, according to John Kerry. And yet, I think anybody with any sense of a brain realized the truth was America had been putting more money into that accord. I think it was up to $1 billion, while the rest of the countries were doing nothing. And yet, liberals and everybody are acting like, it's the end of the world and the earth is going to implode. It's just that those moments like that you just go, thank God the silent majority woke up and was paying attention enough. And I just hope we don't go back to sleep. That's kind of my job.
Right. Now let's talk about your new job for a second, because you are now the National Spokeswoman for the Committee to Defend the President. It's a super PAC that a lot of our mutual friends are involved with. Does the president really need a PAC to defend him? He seems to do a pretty good job of it himself, Scottie.
Well, he does. He does defend himself very, very well. But unfortunately, when you see this onslaught of the left, you've got to have, it's kind of like a football game. Of course, I live in the South, so everything comes back to football. You can have an amazing quarterback, but if you don't have a great line that is defending him, that quarterback is going to be sacked. And that's exactly what this is. Now, of course, you would want to have, and when you're playing dirty, and you're seeing the left play dirty, we saw it this week with Kathy Griffin and the horrible stunt that she pulled off. And then the next day, when she was being held accountable, how the left continued to even praise her. Now they've made her almost like she's a patron, that she's the one. Well, the truth of it is, I think most Americans can look at this and see that what she did was not free speech. It was actually hate speech. I think a lot of people can look at it and say what she did was not a comedy. It was actually tragedy. And most importantly, those of us that are criticizing her, we're not being sexist. We're being patriotic, because that is the President of the United States, that the liberal left thinks that it is okay to encourage violence against. Those sorts of actions right there, I think, are the reason why the president needs to have a line of defenders, because obviously someone on the outside of the administration can say things a little bit different, a little bit more brutal, a little bit more honest than what those that have to be on the inside when they do their interviews can.
And that I certainly agree with. I have a theory about Kathy Griffin, and just by the way that it rolled out and just my devious attorney mind thinking, it feels like the whole thing was premeditated up to that press conference. The photos themselves, the comments made contemporaneously with the photos, the non-apology apology that was directed to her fans and not to the person she should have been apologizing to, and then the press conference with the lawyers. It all just traveled way too quickly for it not to be premeditated and planned out.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that one. And I think that, I don't know if and you looked at the video footage that TMZ released ahead of time, the fact that they filmed it, where she's laughing, saying, we're going to have to move to Mexico. This is so bad. She knew what she was doing. And I don't know about necessarily planned out. I don't think she realized how much she was going to get backlash. And now we're hearing that on Friday night, Bill Maher himself used the N-word, and Senator Ben Sasse laughed about it. You know, I'm hoping that this is a big wake up that the Hollywood left, they're almost like living in this reality show mentality to try to outdo each other. They don't care about you and I. They know they will never have us on their side or on their team. They want to become the bigger star within their own little bubble. And I feel like it's only going to continue to get worse and worse. And
it feels like the gloves are off. I mean, there was certain niceties that were going on, even during the 2016 election, when everybody said this is becoming brutal. But now, if you didn't think that there was all-out war, as far as rhetoric, as far as culture war, we're here. We're here and now, and it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. That's why we need people like you stepping out. Guys, I remember, Scottie, 4 years ago, we first did an interview together, I think at CPAC or something like that, and you were just getting started and you were a force. Now you're like... Yeah, I don't like to use the word iconic, but you've become an icon of the conservative movement. And I'm your buddy, so that's cool.
Stop, you're making me blush. You really are. No, I think the difference is, and because what I see my role in this world is not, because you and I even tried to get this interview together. You've got a bunch of kids at your house. I've got 4 boys who, honestly, both of their parents work, and they're both working, and these 4 boys, it's summertime, so I've kind of collected them all together and trying to find ways. I live in the real world, and I think that's what I've always said, my place, my role, my calling has been, is to continue to remind those in Washington, D.C., and remind those media elites in New York what America really is all about, and what the struggles we're having to deal with, and the things that we're celebrating what's important to us. So anything about iconic that's about me, it's because the American people are iconic. And I just try my best to represent their views. Even last night, I went to a wonderful county in Clay County, Tennessee. And this county only has about 7,500 people that live in the county. I mean, I think that's one block of New York City. But they had been the highest voter percentage of all the counties in Tennessee for President Trump in November. And I wanted to go and personally say thank you to them. Thank you. And they made a difference, just being small little county, rural county that they are. But they also had one of the highest unemployment rates. And they saw the message of President Trump that they might be able to get some of their manufacturing jobs back into that county. Those are the folks right there who I feel like, I would much rather spend time with them on a Friday night than a black tie dinner that costs $10,000 a plate around people who are just trying to outdo each other. I think that is what the joy of seeing President Trump elected and going forward means. And nothing against, and like I said, I love my place in New York City immensely. I love my time down in Hell's Kitchen, my apartment, and getting to talk to those folks and the struggles that they're having as well. It's just, there are real stories and real people who have been forgotten for the last 2 rounds of these elections, and that's where my role is, to kind of make sure that they have a voice somewhere, wherever we can make sure that they remind the folks that represent them.
Right, and President Trump's America First agenda is, obviously a lot of blowback from the left as far as getting his people in place and now pushing forth his agenda. What role do you see the committee that you're now up front for, Committee to Defend the President, what role do you see the organization playing in helping this America First theme, which has really been greatly rolled out from the beginning of from Inauguration Day to now, the theme America First has really shown through from the president. Where does CDP fit into this?
Oh, it's real simple.